best there is to see. On NBC, let's all be there. NBC, let's all be there. People come together in the moments that they share. On NBC, let's all be there.
Before we start, let's take a look at a vintage Knight Rider commercial. Unfortunately, we don't have an NBC commercial for Chariot of Gold, so in its place, we're going to show you a commercial for Knight Rider when it was on the USA Network in 1994. Enjoy.
Take a ride. Take a fast ride. Knight Rider. Tomorrow at 5 on USA.
Production 57326, Chariot of Gold. This episode had a working title of Survival of the Fittest. Written by William Schmidt, directed by Bernard L. Kowalski. This episode originally aired on NBC Friday night, February 25th, 1983 at 9 p.m. It was filmed between January 14th and 24th, 1983. It is the 17th episode to air, but the 16th episode to be produced. The episode synopsis reads as follows. Bonnie is brainwashed by the head of an elite society and reprograms KITT to assist in a robbery. Let's dig in. So we see, this is kind of a blurred shot, but it had to be. We see Michael driving into the archaeological site, county site number 32, and we see the edge of KITT, and according to this, his T-tops are off, because this is the receiver up here where the T-tops latch into. So he's apparently driving with T-tops off, probably just so the cameraman could get this scene. You know, they're driving through, the cameraman's in the passenger seat of KITT, and needed to make sure that this sign came through clear without obstruction, so they removed the T-top right there. And now we have Michael chasing Dr. Litton in his Jeep, and this is just a nice close-up shot of the shell, the rubber shell of KITT, and we can see here, this shows us right here that whenever they molded this, they molded it kind of solid, and they just cut out the headlight door, because if you look here, you can actually see they left a piece of the headlight door mold right here, where really they should have cut it off to the pretend fender line. So just a little detail, and notice the turn signal blackout here is bowed in, because once again we've got the car driving, the air is getting underneath this edge right here, and it's starting to pull up on the turn signal cover, and that's why we see it kind of bowed right here. Michael then puts KITT in auto cruise and gets out to jump over to the Jeep. This is the hero car, actually, that they're using. So it's connected via the camera tow bar in the front, and is being pulled, and that's how they're achieving the auto drive effect in this one. And if we look here, we've got a wire right here and some gaffer's tape on the fender. So they're running, I don't know if it's audio or video or what this cable is for. There might actually be a camera mounted maybe on the side of KITT, and this is the power cord for it, and then it runs to the camera truck, something like that. But there is definitely a wire taped to the side of the fender there. And Michael's just about to jump over, and this might be one of my favorite Jack Gill cameos right here as Dr. Litton, dressed up in his Indiana Jones hat with his big glasses. And then Michael completes the jump, which, by the way, this was David Hasselhoff doing this stunt, which was, you know, not too dangerous, but still, I mean, you've got a moving car and you've got a moving Jeep, and he jumped from the Trans Am to the Jeep. So there you go. You'll notice now we're at the backup to the hero car. It's no longer connected to the camera truck. It's now driving on its own with the blind drive seat, and we can see the squared off overhead for the backup to the hero car. And now this is actually the man who played Dr. Lytton Garnett Smith driving, as opposed to Jack Gill. We see a new feature in KITT, the blood analyzer. This is the one and only time in the entire series that we see this feature, and it's of course KITT's function of the week, I suppose, and as such they plastered a new label over an existing button already on the insert dash, and now we have blood analyzer, and it pops out from under KITT's dashboard. Besides this episode, we only see it used in this episode, but we do actually see it in an upcoming episode, Night Moves. We see it underneath the dash in a scene when Michael is getting ready to back up, but this is the only time we actually see it in use. So, an interesting side note, I don't know if any of you have ever noticed, but this blood analyzer bears a striking resemblance to the Season 2 chemical analyzer that we see debuted in Return to Cadiz. The buttons are different and the display's a little different, but the shape of it is just about the same, and it almost makes me wonder if they took this blood analyzer that, again, we don't see again after the first season, and they just altered that prop into the chemical analyzer, putting a door on it, changing this display to just read analyzer, and changing these switches to colored push buttons. It's very possible that's the fate of the blood analyzer. It became the chemical analyzer in Season 2. Michael's driving, and KITT is doing the analysis of Dr. Lytton's blood, and if you notice, as they're driving, KITT's rear hatch is slowly opening, just like that. So whoever was in charge of that day, didn't latch the trunk properly. And then Michael leans back and sets a course to the hospital. And what's interesting is, this is obviously the dash in the car, but he leans back, and then we see this blood analyzer retract fairly quickly back into the dash. And we can see, we see Hasselhoff's hands here. We see the guy, Garnett Smith, that played Dr. Lytton. We see his hands there. So it makes me wonder how they actually had it retract. And I think they actually had it on some kind of an electronic retraction system, which, is actually pretty, I guess, advanced, or I don't know if it's advanced, but it's definitely overkill for something like this. Someone building this prop wouldn't necessarily build in a mechanism to retract it, but they did just that for this scene. So it's quite interesting. So there you go. You can see there it is, and then it slides back automatically without any hands touching it. So very interesting. Now we pan over to a new shot to supposedly the hospital where Dr. Lytton is staying. In reality, this is not the hospital. This is the Sheraton Universal Hotel. And we can see, let's take a look at it now. So notice the tower in the background. It's pretty solid. We've got square windows up each side. We have a canopy here, and then the entrance. So let's take a look at it now. So there it is now. This is, you can see the facade looks pretty much the same. They did add this new canopy out front, but this hotel is literally right beside Universal Studios, so it would make sense that they would use it. And I'm wondering, is this fountain still here? Let's see. Yes, it is. It looks like it's under construction when these pictures were taken in January of 2019, but the fountain is still there. How about that? And we have Peter Stark pretending to be an orderly, and not sure if any of you have ever noticed this, but his tag says Jay Lennon, like John Lennon. And I'm sure that was some kind of an in-joke at the time for maybe the guy that played Peter Stark, George McDaniel, maybe he's a fan, or maybe the wardrobe person was a fan. But John Lennon, orderly. There you go. And then we transition, and this is supposed to be a transitional shot to the Helios Estate. This actually is not the building that they use for Helios, but it is another establishing shot. At first glance, it almost looks like the King Gillette Ranch that we saw as Kincaid's compound in Inside Out, but I don't think it's that either. So, for you sleuths out there, you filming location sleuths, where do you think this is? What property do you think this is? Obviously, I'm sure it's in Southern California. So if you know what it is and you can find it, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to know. So now we have Devin and Bonnie driving into the Helios Estate, which is actually, by the way, it's the Sisters of the Immaculate Heart compound in Los Angeles. But Devin's driving his convertible Mercedes, which I think, have we seen the convertible yet? I think we've just had a hard top. I'd have to go back and look. But we have Devin in his convertible Mercedes. And we've got our gremlin here. Once again. And then we have the establishing shot of them driving into the estate. And if you look in the background, you can see Charlene Hanover's car. This car right here, this red car, will become important later on in the episode whenever Michael is hitchhiking. But there it is, just for continuity's sake, actually parked in the parking lot of Helios. So that makes sense. And Graham Dovell coming to meet Devin and Bonnie. So if we take a moment and head over to Google Earth, we can see the property here. So right now, Devin and Bonnie, you can watch them throughout that whole scene. They drive up this road right here and come around through this parking lot. This is where we just saw the gremlin. And then they're parking right here in front of the main entrance to meet Graham. He's coming down those stairs. And as Devin and Bonnie get out, we see, once again, putting the gremlin right in our face, driving right past the camera. Just another quick cameo. Despite the fact that 1 minute ago it was driving the other way. We saw it earlier down in the parking lot, and now it's coming from the opposite side again, which doesn't make sense. Michael arrives at Helios, and he's getting out of KITT, and we see a nice pile of his scripts right there on the passenger seat, so that's good that he's following orders. And then he gets out, heads up into the main entrance of this estate, which once again is this right here. Let's see how close we can get. I'm not sure how close it'll let us get. Yeah, he's coming right up those stairs and into the estate. So this is what I was talking about in the opening intro about just how creepy this episode is. So this whole scene where you have a bunch of people sitting in a room and they're watching footage of KITT, it's just kind of makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck. Of course, it's interesting to note how in the world would Helios actually get this footage, because clearly this is being filmed inside of KITT, and this is a scene from the final verdict, also from the final verdict. So oddly enough, they had people staged, out on the road to film these scenes, which, why not? And then, of course, they were then out in Deadly Maneuvers watching KITT with his flamethrower here. And then somehow they got inside of Comtron and were watching KITT break out from the building there, both inside and outside. So it's ridiculous, but still kind of creepy. And here's that girl we were talking about back in the previous episode, A Nice and Decent Little Town. So, actually, you could make the case, maybe she was an informant and she was one of the ones going around and filming Michael, because we do see this unknown lady in the previous episode in the town of Alpine Crest. So, maybe she was working for Helios and she was just doing some spying on Michael for all these months. Who knows? And then, of course, we see this scene as well. This, up until this point in the series, this scene was not seen in any previous episode. This was just some stock footage they shot. However, we do see this scene all the way in Season 3 in Night in Disgrace. We see this exact shot of KITT driving away in the desert. But up until this point, this is the first time in the series we actually see this scene. And then, they were out in Good Day at White Rock watching KITT jump over the lake. And in Slam and Sammy's with the ski mode. And they were somehow monitoring Michael through the windshield in Hearts of Stone. So Helios must have some vast resources, I suppose. And now we meet Irving Farber, played by Sandy Hellberg. Sandy was born in Germany and, appeared on a ton of classic 80s shows. The Jeffersons, Newhart, Night Court, Wonder Years, Remington Steele. It looks like he's semi-retired or fully retired. He hasn't really had any acting credits since 2012, but he plays Irving just brilliantly in this episode. And then this is Lynn Topping, who played Charlene Hanover, the mysterious woman throughout most of the episode. She, interestingly enough, this was kind of a reunion between her and David Hasselhoff because they co-starred together on The Young and the Restless for many years. She left acting in 1985. She only had a couple more roles after this role in Knight Rider, and unfortunately she died pretty young in 2011. So now we begin the couple of scenes between Michael at the Helios Estate and KITT supposedly parked outside, and each time they use stock footage of KITT from a completely different episode. So in this scene, we get this view of KITT and then they pan down to his scanner. This scene is from A Plush Ride, so you can just barely see the bench over here in the corner. This is from the survivalist training compound where KITT's parked outside. And then we have Theodore Bickel, Graham Deauville. He was also foreign-born. He was born in Austria. Had roles in The Fall Guy, Fantasy Island, Dynasty. He died in 2015, age 91. He had a very good and long life. So then we move here to Irving in his fantastic plaid jacket. But take a look at this guy in the background. He kind of looks like William Daniels, but it's not William Daniels. But this guy is another one that appears in several different places in the series. Most notably, we see him as part of the parole board for in Brother's Keeper for Peter. So he's part of the parole board, but he shows up a couple other times in the background, so keep an eye out for him. But again, not William Daniels. So now here's another scene where Michael is talking to KITT at the Helios Estate, and KITT is supposed to be parked outside. But now instead of being parked at the Helios Estate or parked at the compound from A Plush Ride, all of a sudden he's in the racetrack from Slam and Sammy's Stunt Show Spectacular. So you can see in the background Lisa Phillips' white Firebird parked right there. So again, another just situation where apparently they couldn't go outside and film KITT. Actually, on location, they used this stock footage. All right. And this is George McDaniel, who played Peter Stark, in kind of one of the creepiest scenes of the whole series. Michael's investigating here. KITT hears animal cries in the basement. Michael goes down to investigate, and he sees monkeys in cages going wild, and then he sees this guy with his murderous stare petting a bunny, just saying the animals are more friendly than people are, and it's just freaky. But again, George McDaniel appeared in pretty much every single one of your classic 80s action-adventure shows. Dukes of Hazzard, Hardcastle and McCormick, Remington Steele, T.J. Hooker, A-Team, Hunter, Magnum P.I., so he'd be a fascinating guy to talk to, and he is still acting today. And now we move to another establishing shot, and once again, this is not the Helios Estate. This is another property, and it almost looks like it's the same property that they used in the establishing shot that I talked about earlier in this episode. The one that once again kind of looks like the King Gillette Ranch, Alvin Kincaid's compound from Inside Out, but it's not. So once again, you know where this place is? Let us know in the comments below. We'll add it to our filming locations database. Michael pulls up to the Helios Estate at night, and he's getting ready to press the auto roof button, but actually we can see that the auto roof is already gone. There's no T-top here. You can see the headliner in the overhead console. This whole scene is actually reused in the second season in A Knight in Shining Armor, so much so that they even dressed Hasselhoff in the same outfit just so they could reuse this one ejection scene. Auto roof left, and see now that they open. Now they actually open it here. But here's another great look at the hinges on the T-tops that allow the roof to open right here. So you can see there's one there, and then they're attached to the bar itself. Michael opens a file drawer and sees Bonnie's name and decides to pull out her test. This is her Helios examination, of which Graham Dovell said she passed, when in reality she failed. But in true reality, this is an occupational interest inventory, if you look at this closely. However, it does say Barstow, Bonnie, no middle name. His finger is covering this piece right here, but it does say something 1980, age 25, female, testing, and then city almost looks like La Hera. So at least they went to some effort over here to put her name on it. And then Michael, of course, finds the Betamax tape labeled KITT, which is, a sign of the times, Betamax tape. And then Michael calls for KITT. He realizes something weird's going on. He calls for KITT. KITT comes racing. And once again, another scene from a previous episode. This is actually Carr from Trust Doesn't Rust on the highway right before he careens off the cliff. Michael rescues Bonnie and gets ready to crash back out of the Helios estate through the gate. So we can see here that before he even hits the gate, he's already crashed through it the other way. There's debris everywhere. We know that he already came through in this way, but we don't actually see that in this episode. However, in the season 2 premiere Goliath, there's a scene where Garth is watching scenes of KITT on a TV, just I guess to help familiarize himself with the car. And one of those scenes is the cut scene from this episode where we see KITT crashing through the fence the other way. So there you go. So here's our first appearance of the computer override function on KITT. We see this a couple other times throughout the series. Night Racer is one that comes to mind, and this is supposedly under KITT's dash, and I'm not sure what the function of it is, because she just switches this lever, turns the knob, and then KITT goes crazy. I'm not sure why that would ever be needed. But and also note they misspelled override. There should be 2 R's in override, but there's only one. Michael and Stark are fighting after Michael digs his way out of, or not digs his way, gets out of the pit, and clearly see not Hasselhoff, some stunt guy, and not Peter Stark, some other stunt guy, going at it. And this is your kind of your white wire alert, or lack of. It's hard to see here, but we can see at the very top of the screen we've got that gaff tape in place still once again. Michael's walking, and the first car that passes him, which is actually Charlene Hanover's car, just keeps driving by. And I'm not sure if in the story this was meant to be Charlene driving by, and she just, then changed her mind and turned around, or if they were just going for a random passerby that happened to have, the same car, or they thought we wouldn't notice. But that is Charlene driving by, and then in the next scene, she's coming back the other way and pulling in to talk to Michael. Moving to the County Museum entrance, as we can see here. This building is in Chatsworth, California. It's still there today. Let's take a look at it. You can tell by the the funky design here. It's pretty easy to spot, but here it is right here. Let's see if we can get a similar view of. I guess they were over here. Let's just see if we can. Yeah, so right about there. So let's compare. So, here you can see this corner of the museum here, and then if we go over here, so they're actually way over on this side. Something like right about here. The trees have obviously grown up since then, but yeah, this is the building in Chatsworth, California. It looks like the day they did the Google Street View, they're filming some other scene here for another show, so it must be a very popular location. But yeah, this is the County Museum. So Deauville's henchmen get ready to pull the ramps out to back KITT down. We can see here that KITT's already uncovered. We can also see it's raining, which, you know, for Knight Rider is kind of rare. You know, you don't see too many episodes where it's raining. I mean, we see it a little bit in Race for Life. We see it in Nobody Does It Better. But for the most part, you know, it's usually sunny and dry in California. But this was a rare episode where it was raining. But we can see here they're pulling the ramps out and KITT's already uncovered, but then up here they're still uncovering KITT, even after the ramps are already down. So, and then Michael pulls in, spins around, and gets ready to get out, and we've got Bonnie and Graham about to order KITT to kill Michael. We can see this is the hero car. We can also see that one of the inserts, they would put blackout pieces of fabric inside the headrests of these cars. We can see in this instance the blackout actually fell down and is laying right here at the bottom. Charlene leaves Michael there. Just an F-body alert. We've got a nice late 70s what is that, a 77 or 78 Firebird, not a Trans Am, Firebird or Firebird Esprit. And then we've got, looks like a base model 3rd gen Camaro right here. So always neat to kind of see those. And now, after Deauville gives the order to KITT to kill Michael, we now switch to the backup to the hero car. We can see the bulge behind the seat here. We can see the round steering wheel. This is, again, back up to the hero car and the one that they used for this scene for blind driving. And we get a better look here at, well, it's not that great, but of the sticker dash that we've pointed out a number of times. You get a real good look at it in the Final Verdict, so go back and check out that episode. But there's the sticker dash that was in this car. So this is an interesting scene. This is where Michael was pleading with KITT. He says, "You're the Knight Industry 2000. You're my car. You belong to me." This is one of the rare times when he calls KITT, when it's Knight Industry versus Knight Industries, which is the official name. So I think Hasselhoff just might have misspoke that line. In fact, we looked it up on the script, and the script actually does say Knight Industries, but Hasselhoff says Knight Industry. So there you go. Okay. This is one of the things you guys just love to see. This is the debut of a new KITT. That's right. We are now at 6 Trans Ams being used for KITT and the Flivver car. What makes this car even more special is this is the first car used as KITT that came from the infamous train wreck. This is a 1983 Trans Am. The first 83 Trans Am used. All the other ones were 82. This is an 83 Trans Am. Now, we don't get a great look at this car in this episode. We get a much better look in the next episode, Whitebird. And that's when we'll really go into the details of this car. But it only made an appearance in this episode in this one very, very brief scene. And actually, I just noticed if you look over the wall, we see a white 3rd gen, either a Firebird or a Camaro right there at the top of it. But yes, this is the first train wreck KITT, the first of many, and the first 1983 model KITT that we have. And one way to tell this new car, and another interesting point about this is the first hardtop KITT, non-T-top KITT that we get. They would, the studio, to make it look like, because again, this car was never meant to be seen super up close, so they would rivet metal trim on the roof to make it look like it had T-tops for the drive-bys, but in reality it was a hardtop car. So that's the easiest way to tell this car apart from the others. This particular car, believe it or not, lasted the entire series, all the way to Voodoo Night. this car was used. I always call this the hardest working Knight Rider car in the fleet. No other car would be used as much as this car was used, even though it didn't appear until this late into the first season. No other car is used more than this car in the series, and it got banged up and dented, scratched, everything you can name of, because it was a stunt car, but they kept patching it together, and it persevered all the way to the end of the series. And one other thing to note. A lot of you have heard about the wrecking ball incident that occurred when the series ended. We don't have an exact date. We believe it happened in 1987. And the deal was that any of the cars used in the train wreck would be crushed for liability purposes. However, there is a mystery, an ongoing mystery regarding this particular car. Because this particular car we have pictures of sitting on the Universal Studios back lot as late as mid-1988, which is well over a year after the wrecking ball. So now the question is this car still out there somewhere? Maybe one day we'll be able to answer that. Stay tuned. All right, back to the chase between KITT and Deauville. In the background here, we see one of the Knight Rider car haulers. This hauler, makes appearances a number of times throughout the series. Probably the most prominent is in the Ice Bandits in the 3rd season. And then we have KITT doing some skiing. This is on Soledad Street in Canyon Country. We see a nice... looks like an F body there, I think. Yeah, it looks like an F body. Here's kind of how it looks today. There's a big truck in the way, but there's where he was skiing, right through here. And if we move forward just a frame, you see this funny black box down here. This is one of their cameras. And you'll see here we get footage from this angle of the skiing, but this is one of their cameras, I think inside one of their crash boxes. And we also get another look at the bottom of this car, which is, in fact, the same car we saw skiing just an episode prior in a nice and decent little town. We know that because of the true dual exhaust, the single muffler, the holes in the floorboard for the oil slick from the pilot. Everything we've gone over in the previous episodes. We can see all of those same features in this car. Yeah, and there's a slightly better look, and of course we have Buzz Bundy inside here doing the skiing. And this is the footage from that crash camera that was laying on the ground a few frames ago. So, gives a nice angle and perspective to this stunt. And there we go. There it is from the front, and there's Buzz Bundy right in there. And then we have KITT with a conveniently placed ramp. People call this a turbo boost, but technically it's not. He didn't press the button. There was no turbo boost. There just happened to be a convenient ramp here for some reason that launched KITT into the air. And once again, we see another one of the cameras right down here to get a nice shot of the underside, which we'll see in a minute. And then this is the roll-caged acrylic window jump car, although they don't have the side windows in. They're open for this one. Let's take a look here. So look at this red building in the background. So he's jumping into this, let's go back a scene. He's jumping into this big open lot right here. But today, if we were to look at this, go all the way down this road. So here's this building. So you see this red building. There's the 4 windows there. And there it is today. It's still there. But the place where KITT lands is now a storage facility. So unfortunately, you're not going to be able to go there digging through the dirt looking for pieces of a Trans Am from a turbo boost jump almost 40 years ago. Sorry. Let's see here. So yeah, here's the footage from that crash cam underneath, and can't really see too much, except we do get a look at the side-mounted camera on KITT right there. Kind of a better look, and then this is the footage from that side-mounted camera. And then Michael stops Graham after he conveniently just crashes into a dirt pile without any of intervention from KITT, really. But notice there's a large dent on KITT's roof back here, so hopefully Bonnie can fix that now that she's deprogrammed. And we get a nice close-up of the comlink as KITT's talking, and you've probably noticed this, but the comlink, they only, for some reason, recorded like 2 seconds of footage, but they needed more than 2 seconds for this scene, so they played the 2 seconds, and then they reversed those 2 seconds to give you about 4 seconds. And we can tell that because the time goes 2:26 and 4 seconds, up to 5 seconds, back down to 4 seconds. So there you go. And then to close out the episode, one last time in the series, we see the epilogue with Wilton Knight, Richard Basehart, speaking over while KITT's driving in the desert. This is the final time in the entire series that we see this. It will now move to the standard, KITT driving through the desert at sunset, the same one that was teased in the previous episode, A Nice and Decent Little Town. Starting in Whitebird, that will become the norm for the rest of the series. Well, that wraps up Chariot of Gold. In preparation for our next episode, be sure to lock any of your lightly colored feathered friends in a gilded enclosure, preferably during the colder months, but not so cold that it prevents liquid precipitation. Be sure you lock it in there alone, and then just let it sit there. Well, on second thought, you better just let it out so it doesn't cease to exist. Anyways, Whitebird! Catch you next time. Thanks for watching.
And now, while we listen to Joe's selection of Knight Rider music that we received directly from Don Peake himself, we'd like to thank these Patreon supporters. Look at you guys scrolling up the screen to my right. Wait a minute, how can you tell which side is my right since you can't see me because I'm not on camera? Oh well, you know what I mean. We're featuring these fine supporters at our Knight Rider Prop Restorer level. Thank you very much for your support. And for those of you at the Knight Rider History Hunter level, we're recognizing you right now in the description. Now, if you enjoyed seeing this golden nugget of Knight Rider history being rescued from obscurity, then please consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support would empower us to bring you even more of these historical nuggets. We are the Knight Rider Historians. Till next time, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.